Well, with all that said, and it's all true, making a movie is still the most fun you can have.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. You direct some, so you don't.
Well, I think when you direct a movie, you realize really, that the screenplay is really just the beginning, and that people, there are people who make stupid comments, there are people who want to do silly things with it, but it's also true there are a lot of people who make wonderful suggestions who actually make it better. Sometimes an actor will come up with an idea that you hadn't thought of, because in some ways an actor goes through the same process breaking down a character that you do when you write. And sometimes they'll go into an area you didn't go into, and they'll come up with something you haven't thought of. So, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, the good and the bad, but, sometimes a cameraman will have a great idea. Sometimes somebody, the production designer and the actors will have great ideas that make your script better and they make you look good. So it's not all just a bitter fight against people trying to hack your script to death. And in fact, I think the more you direct, the more you look for, the more you try to open yourself to listening to other people and their ideas and attitudes about the script. And I think actually directing it made me a better writer, I think, just because I loosened up a little bit. I didn't think that my way of looking at it was the only way to look at it. And I think when you do that, you open yourself to some possibilities that may actually improve what you've done.
And sometimes an idea will be given to you by somebody that you may not think is a good idea, but if you can sort of excavate what the intention of that idea was, what the problem they had with the script or the part of the script is, even if their suggestion is wrong or bad or you don't agree with it, if you can dissect what their problem is, you can come up with a different suggestion that will make it better rather than be destructive. And more often than not, I've found that if you can make it better, that it's not that they're married to their idea to fixing it, as much as finding you as the writer need to come up with the solution to what their problem is, but they don't always necessarily articulate it that way. So you kind of have to just have good people skills and understand how to read what they're saying.
Meeting Walter is one of those life-changing moments, without a doubt. And I had been writing screenplays since 1992, and I met him in 2003. Had never had a film made, and I really did think that the art of screenwriting was the art of writing things that no one will ever see. And Walter, and partly because he is Brazilian, he's not of the United States, he's not a product of the system here, even though he did go to USC. But his perspective is very different, and his ability to collaborate with the writer is incredibly open. I was invited to all the auditions for the Motorcycle Diaries. I was invited to be on the set at every moment down in South America. He took me down to Argentina for 2 weeks of pre-production in which the two actors, Gael and Rodrigo, read the script almost like a play. They would rehearse it all day, make comments, Walter would make comments, I would go to the hotel room, rewrite scenes, come back in with new scenes the next day, they would read them again, we'd talk, I'd go back that night and rewrite the scenes again. And it was, I come from the theater and it felt like doing theater. And, I sat by Walter's side when he cut the film, I rewrote voiceover in post-production, and in the final moment he let me, because we were both very unhappy with the Spanish subtitles, the English subtitles, because the film was shot in Spanish, I rewrote all the subtitles into English. On the road, I've been to all the auditions, it's a very close relationship, and I don't, for a minute, believe that this is obviously the norm, because in the second film I wrote, Trade, was the complete opposite. But it has been tremendously liberating, and his respect for the word is enormous and genuine, and my respect for his work is equal. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's been an amazing relationship.
How has making films where the script is not the quote-unquote be-all and end-all liberated you to go back to tightly scripted work? So
that's a leading question. I don't know. First of all, I think you know, we all read William Goldman's book, or I shouldn't say that, but many of us read William Goldman's book, I'm assuming, and I do believe that structure and story are kind of the most important thing. So, you know, even in the unscripted films, you got to lay out. I mean, it's not like I just take a bunch of actors. I'm not Lars von Trier. You know, we don't get on a set and draw some chalk lines on the floor and make something up. I mean, there is
an out. Right,
that is what I'm doing for my next film, however. But no, I think that, you know, I still have to construct the story. But the truth is, and I think Billy is speaking to this. You know, if I can hire a better writer than me to write my script that I'm directing, if I can get Billy to write my script for me that I'm directing, I will, because I'd rather, you know, I think there's some joke about I'm not a good enough writer for me as a director, I'm not a good enough director for me as a writer, and something funnier about the producer that's proving I'm not a good enough writer to tell that joke. Right. But part of the reason why I went to do these improv films is it pretty much forces you out of every bad, destructive habit that you have as a writer when you no longer have the safety net of having a screenplay beneath you, and you kind of have to figure out the scene for yourself. It also, you know, on the Grand, I had 20 awesome writers. I had Ray Romano writing his own part. He's a really good writer. You guys should write some screenplays. And Chris Parnell and David Cross, these guys are really, really funny. But, you know, look, I think a lot of what's going on in your film, which I thought was a really fascinating portrait, but even when we're talking about this, is when we talk about they and them and the studio and what they're doing to us, there is no they. You know, there is no organized cabal of people who are, you know, uniformly making us all do this, that, or the other. It's a group of scared people, sometimes more scared than we are. By the way, half of whom get fired while you're working on the movie. It's not like they're even the same people all the way through. And so I think it's very easy to get caught up, and I think Shane talked about this a little bit, although it sounds like maybe still a little bit too caught up in it. It's a waste of time to sit there and tell people their ideas are bad. It's a waste of time. I spent a lot of time doing that early in my career. It's a waste of time to, you know, someone says, I don't think the script should have any conflict in it, and someone gave me that note. just let it go. I mean, you know what? People say stupid shit all the time in every walk of life. You don't need to respond to all of it. Sometimes people are just nervous and they don't know what they think is wrong. The question is, why are you in that meeting for 4 hours arguing with people? Why not just say, you know, by the way, John August, who's a friend of mine, is a master of this. He sits there and he listens to everyone's notes and he says, okay, interesting, I will get back to you. And the notes that need replying to, he replies to, and the notes that are just nervous. By the way, I pitch some stupid shit you know, I'll sit there and say, oh, why, let's make him a dog, you know, and then later on you realize, no, that was a terrible idea. Why did I pitch it? So I think you kind of have to get out of the whole paradigm of there's these people who are trying to stop us, who are trying to ruin our movie, who are trying to do this, that, and the other. The good news is if you make an improvisational film, you pretty much prevent yourself from falling into that trap, because who are you going to blame, you know? So I think that's more why I've gone into it, and it hasn't prepared me at all for going back to write. You know, I'm back into writing superhero movies, and it's not helpful in the meeting to say, well, Werner Herzog, you know, taught me this about making a film. It's not helpful when you're working on the Avengers, you know, so it's just not. They're two different skill sets, and, you know.
And this is Captain America Avengers, not Emma Peel Avengers.
Yeah, it is not, right. It's a comic book, another big comic book movie. I know you guys all need more, so we'll be giving it to you.